Cheers, brother.
Cheers, it's really bright.
Welcome to the podcast again. Johnny Ahern, for anyone who doesn't know, I suppose the original creator of Diffuszed Studios, great friend of mine and studio partners now. And today we thought we'd come on and talk a bit about, room acoustics and stuff like that, because it's something we've done before in the studio and we're just looking to move again. Yeah. So we're going to, go over it all again, the whole process. Welcome to the show again.
Thanks. Yeah, it's almost like Inception. I'm in my studio doing a show. Yeah. On your show.
Yeah. And we've done it before as well, so it's kind of like,
this stuff we do every day. So
me and Johnny basically hang out most days. So for anyone out there, we know each other quite well. And if you want to know Johnny's story a bit more, go back and listen to the previous episode where he was on. That must have been like episode 6 or 7, real early, eh?
That was last year, probably around.
Was it the old studio? It would have been before we moved here.
That was around probably mid-year.
Before we moved into this studio.
So we've been here for 1 year and a bit.
August we moved in here last year, yeah.
And, if you've been sleeping under a rock, of course you know that the move is happening.
Yeah, so Frequencies is basically Paul. He's not disappearing, but he won't be in this space anymore because we sort of share this space with him. We're looking for a new spot, so that's why we're looking a bit not the most dressed up at the moment. We've been looking at spaces.
Yeah, I look like I'm out of
so we're but today we're going to talk about room acoustics. It's something that I feel like a lot of people don't know enough about. I always ask people, and I think the best place to start is with room size, because I always say to people when they're looking to do treatment in their room, it's like, have you used the room mode calculator? And no one knows about that. So
room mode calculator is fantastic.
Yeah.
It unfortunately is for rectangles and squares, which
smaller rooms.
A lot of small rooms are that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get to have an odd-shaped room, then more reflections, then hey, that's great. But there's two ways about it. You can be very mathematically in tune with it, or you can also know that not any room is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, some studios have probably spent tens of $1,000s and there's still problems.
Yeah.
So the idea is getting to know your room and getting to know what works. And I guess there's two ways about that. There is a room where you write music in.
Yeah.
So a room where you write music in, you don't have to be so pedantic about your treatment. Just a couple of things would be great.
Yeah.
And if you want to do a room for mixing, then of course a little bit more treatment is necessary.
And stuff,
And then I guess on the third thing, there's two companies out there that do room correction software.
Yep.
And
is there only two though? There's two
that I know.
major ones that we know about. Yeah. I'm sure there's more.
So that's Sonar and
Sonarworks
and IK Media.
IK Media, yeah.
So they do, anyone who's done production, they do the T-Rack stuff and some really good reverbs and everything. So that's kind of your last defense.
Yeah, that's the last thing you do.
That's the last thing you need to do. So if you do a bit of treatment, get a room correction software, you can write, mix and produce in literally any small room.
Yeah. This is for small rooms too we're talking about, because what we're finding now is we're looking into moving into a bigger room. So this room we're in right now, it's about 4x4, give or take. A couple of centimeters here and there.
It's nearly a cube.
It's almost a square, yeah.
It's nearly a cube. High ceilings, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff that you really, I guess, is great to look after. I mean, who was the last guy we had in? He did a video and
Sean.
Sean.
Yeah, he was in
Big Moo. Is that his? It's his producer name.
Yeah. I think so.
So he came in and just checked his mixes on our Atoms and just in the room, was kind of happy,
Yeah. Just as a
And
check sort of thing to check it out.
basically turned around and said, "Dude, what do I do? I just want to produce in my room, and I want to. I have no idea what to do."
For the
So I
treatment,
think
yeah.
people think acoustics. They think like it's too. You need like some like bachelor degree or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's what I always say about the room size first. It's like when you say people are looking
Yeah.
to do treatment, it's like, well, have you gone and put your room size in the calculator?
Yeah.
So if you Google, or I don't know the website, but what you have to do is go to Google and type in room mode calculator, mode as in MODE, calculator, and you literally put in the width of the room, the height of the room, and the length of the room, and it will give you a heap of information about how your room, depending on the size, will perform, because it's all to do with physics, because sound waves at different frequencies have different lengths, and then so it's a measurement for the waves, and then obviously depending on the size of your room, they bounce off the walls and come back and cancel or gather sound in certain areas. So that's the first thing that I always recommend anyone that hits me up for what should I do.
So that's what I told Sean. I was
Do
like,
the
"No,
do the
this."
room mode calculator first. There's a few things in there. There's bolt ratio. It'll give you this. It's this little graph, and it shows you. And if your room, the little X is within this certain
the middle?
space, it means that you
you're
can get
generally
a
in a
pretty
good place.
good sounding, decent
Yeah.
room.
If
it's
find
way outside the space,
it means
it's
you're-
never going to sound great.
Yeah, but
know?
if it's not in the bolt ratio, that means your room's huge. So
Yeah, or it's just not right. Like, we've looked at ones that were too long
Yeah.
and not high enough and wide. It's to do with the ratio between
Yeah.
all three, all three measurements of the
so
room.
the biggest space that we've currently looked at was it 10? Was
10.
it 8 meters long?
It's 8 meters by 7 meters,
by
I think.
7. At its height was 6 meters down
Yeah.
to slope down to
It's got a pitched roof.
yeah.
So the thing with that space is the room mode calculators kind of doesn't work, because it's an
enormous room.
a strange shaped room. But for everyone out there, even if you just are at home and you work in your room and you've got no treatment, do the measurements and put it in, because it actually gives you specific frequencies that are going to be problems in terms of they'll either cancel each other out and you won't hear that particular frequency as well,
Yeah.
or it'll be like, they'll hit each other and they'll multiply and it'll be louder in certain areas.
And some people will hit me up on Messenger and be like, "Oh, hey, I want some, can you give me some info about my room or whatever?" I literally send them a link to this great seminar, like this, basically like what we're doing. This guy, his name's Bob Owansky. It's Polish. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. Maybe we can put a link in.
Yeah, I think
when we
with
do
this episode, we're going to have a heap of links below. I think we'll have a heap.
And just the science behind setting up your room, 5 easy steps without literally spending more than like $10, really, nothing.
Yeah.
So that's like, you should be decoupled, so you're off the wall, even lengths from your speakers, and you should be at least back a third of the room.
Yeah.
And once you start doing that, you're going to be right. If you're on the corner, or if you've angled your desk weirdly or something, then maybe you just need to look at just restructuring the furniture in your room. And if you're fortunate enough to have the space for that, it will improve. I mean, there's even a rule about on your back wall having a bookcase. So if you've got a bookcase,
Which we don't have. We've just got a couch and this bare wall, which we were definitely going to put something in there, but now we're moving. It's like, we're not going to bother with that.
But when you also realize the weaknesses of your room, and when you're listening to your room as well as what's coming out of your speakers, you'll understand not to turn down certain frequencies because they're generating in your room.
Yeah.
And a good part of that is, I guess a really good friend of mine said this to me, is like, sit in your room and just listen to music. Like just listen to as much music as you can, because that way you will familiarize yourself with the sound of the room
And music you know too.
and music you know.
So you know
reference
how it
tracks.
sounds. What's your reference track that you always?
It's like
what is it? Is it Bob Marley?
there's three. There's three.
What's your track that you always?
The first one is always "Sun Is Shining."
We
by
listened
Bob
to
Marley.
that like a million times in this room when it was still.
It
there.
literally took me probably 2 or 3 months to get used to this room.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, we talk like when we first moved in here. I think we're jumping ahead a bit. Like if we move back, let's talk about speaker placement now. We've done room size. Room size is important to do that calculator, and we'll put a link in the description and that, so people can go to that calculator. But when we first moved into this room, we literally just had the speakers in here, and that was it. And we played around with moving the speakers around, and we tried just having one speaker on to make it mono to hear the sound, and then what happens when we turn two on. So like speaker placement, it's better to have them on stands and isolation pads. That's a given.
Oh, that's a huge thing. I scroll through the Facebook and I'm going, like, why aren't your speakers on ISO pads or a stand?
Yeah,
like,
they're just sitting on a big
they're
table,
sitting on a big desk,
vibrating and changing.
and someone's going, oh, what such a lit track, and I'm like, it's cool. It's like that's for writing, but I'm just like, you take that speaker off a resonator like a piece of wood, put it on isolation pad.
Yeah.
You put that on a stand that doesn't vibrate.
Yeah.
You're instantly improving your speaker by 10-20%.
Yeah. And so isolation pads, I think I picked mine up a set from I don't even know what brand, like Store DJ, like $50, and that's a good way to start, with just to get them off your desk and
Yeah.
So then like we talk about placement. So we've played around with our speakers a lot in this room.
Wasn't happy for a while. Hey?
Yeah, you don't want them. You like general rules. You don't want them in the corner of the room, like right in the corner.
No.
They talk about the triangle. Do you want to talk about the triangle between the speakers and the listener?
Equilateral triangle.
Yep. Equal distance
apart
between each speaker.
Yeah.
And then each speaker to the person listening.
Yeah.
So you want an equilateral triangle for that. What about distance from the back wall? So what about that?
You don't really have distance from you work from the front wall back.
Well, that's what I mean. The front, the wall that's behind the speakers. Sorry, yeah.
That's relative to how long your room is. So they say a great listening position is a third inside the room.
Yep.
So basically, if you have the length that we have, that is only 1.5 meters, if that. And then
figure out where.
then
So the way you do that then is you figure out, right, so the best listening position is a third from that wall, and then you do the triangle from there for the speakers. Is that what you recommend as an initial thing? Because we tried heaps of things. Like we did that, and then we tried moving them out a bit further, moving them in a bit further, moving them back towards the wall, moving them forwards, and we tested it all. We had a reference mic for that, but you can use your ears.
There was also a really great one where you just put the speaker, wherever it is in the room, you just put it on the left or on the right or wherever it is, and if it sounds good there, and then you just equal distance that from the wall, and then you just set up your speaker on the other side.
Yeah,
same thing. But the more you go in, it's going to, like, your stereo field is going to like bubble up. The wider you go out, your stereo field is going to thinner.
Really? How come?
Because the wider the speakers are out, I think there's a rule. It's about 180 centimeters is a good indication of where. So regardless,
any closer than that.
So if your room is like 7 meters apart,
the one we're moving into soon,
you would still.
Well, potentially, we're not sure yet. We're still trying to figure it out.
You potentially 180 centimeters for distance between your speakers is generally where you start. Like I'm saying, when you go out, your stereo field's going to thin. When you're going in, it's going to box it up. And when you're panning and doing stuff in Mixwell, you really want to know where you're kind of panning and everything. And I think apart from that, and having like a couple of months there to just kind of play around with the speakers and really test what this room was doing, Kind of
when we
felt,
moved in, it
kind
was
of felt like it took ages, but
well, when we moved in, remember the reverb in this room was like, so it was a couple, like it was like a week or 2 weeks or a little while where we just had the speakers in here. Like I said, we really didn't have any sound treatment or anything, and it sounded really terrible in here to begin with.
it was
Really echoey, really reverby, and then for so many people who have been in and checked it out now, it was not what it is now. So then once we started, we figured out general speaker positioning and stuff, the best place for it. Then we moved all our treatment in. So let's talk about the treatment, the different kinds of basic treatment you have. So your bass traps, your initial reflection panels, all that kind of stuff. So let's start with bass traps because everyone... such a big thing. Bass traps are a huge issue.
Love a good bass trap. Thicker the better.
Yeah. What kind of materials best do you think for bass traps? Like
there's two ways. Like the DIY with Rockwool and fiberglass. Yeah. You'll have
which is what we like.
Yeah.
So the ones here, you can probably see some of these panels here. The
but
flowery ones, they're fiberglass, right?
like yeah. They've got there's different places that will do a little bit more professional service for you. So there'll be like dense foam, and there'll be separate like wooden cavities inside these traps.
You can make them look real cool. And
So that's what I think maybe scares people a little bit. Like they go, "Oh, I can do DIY," and sure enough, if you know how to, screw some boards in,
it's pretty basic.
It is a very basic thing, and you can save a lot of money, but you will need to use just what's available in your local Bunnings or hardware store.
Because Rockwool's interesting to try and find, like the right stuff.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to find as I would have thought.
Yeah.
So we've got two kinds of absorber panels in here. We've got, if we get this camera here, you should be able to see you've got those
just
fiberglass.
to say though, from here you can see we've got like a what's about an inch gap off the wall.
Yeah.
So an inch gap is really fantastic because if you think of sound, it's like a stick that's going into water. So if you put a stick in water and you look at it, it bends. So basically that's what sound's going to do. So you increase the coefficiency of your absorber if you put it off the wall.
Yeah.
Because basically the sound's going to go through that absorber, it's going to hit the back wall, and it's going to come back, and it's going to lose energy. So the basic
you're hitting it twice kind of thing.
basic premise of an absorber is to lose energy from the sound,
which is absorbed into the absorber. Yeah.
So when
Which is why the material's important.
Yeah. So you can go, you can go full hog and spend a lot of money on people that have like Real Traps and some other places, and then you can also get a DIY and still make your own traps.
Yep.
But the guys on the bigger end of the scale, from like Real Traps and some other acoustic companies, they very well tell you to steer away from using Rockwool and fiberglass, as it's not necessarily a very healthy material, and maybe to have inside a place.
Yeah. So whenever we've worked with it and made stuff, it's like afterwards you're like, oh, I'm itchy. I've got it all over me, like Rockwool and fiberglass. Yeah.
So it's fun. So be safe. Like do your research.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask. You don't have to socially distance.
You don't have to socially distance, but just say you're making it.
So the first thing, like we're talking about materials, bass traps. So we're talking Rockwool if you can get it. The denser the better.
Dense seems to be
the more dense you can get the Rockwool, the better. You can get stuff at Bunnings. You can ship stuff from overseas and things like that, but just whatever you can really get. I think Bunnings can get it, or if you know a builder, if you know someone who's a builder, get them to get onto it. But yeah, like I said, we've got the fiberglass ones that you had made in the old studio, and then some that I have as well, which are they're actually Rockwool ones. And so for the corner traps, what's the purpose of the bass corner traps?
Well, in a rectangle room, the mode gains a lot more energy in a corner.
Yeah. So it's all reflecting and getting accumulating in the corner.
When you're in the rectangle, because a lot of people mix in rectangles.
Yeah.
That's where the energy is going to build up the most.
Yeah.
And you basically don't want that energy to shoot back at you.
Yeah.
So having that in the corners is going to give you a great advantage on listening to your mix that's coming out of your speakers rather than what's coming out of your room.
Yeah. And so what I think is important though to explain about like bass traps and the room size. So the mode calculator we were talking about earlier, what it actually does is gives you particular frequencies and it'll show you what part of the room you basically need to treat for that frequency. So the corner traps it'll show you on an image of your room and say, right, I don't know the exact hertz which would be in the corner. Say it's 60 hertz.
Oh, you know what's another really great thing about that? It's
What?
like
It
you can turn the microphone on, and if you've hooked it up to your speakers or your sound card, and you can hover over it, and it'll actually give you a
tone.
a test tone.
Yeah, and
So then you can walk around your room and go,
well, that's weird.
Well, that's
in these
weird.
places.
Yeah.
So it'll tell you the program tells you, it goes, all right, 60 hertz, and it'll show you to be like corners. You need to, and which that means then that's where that energy is building up and causing
the first
issues.
node.
So you need to treat those areas of the room to absorb sound. So that's your corners, and it's generally corners are bass stuff, low end, under 100 hertz.
and that's what they call axial. It's like it's the first point, so it'll hit one surface and come back.
Yeah.
Then there's then it goes up to a tri node, which is like 3 surfaces and comes back. It's like
It gets real hectic. Let's not go that deep.
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. It gets.
Let's keep it for everyone. So
Yeah, you don't want to
bass
go down the
traps,
rabbit hole.
when you put this stuff into, it'll tell you what specific frequencies are going to be affected by you treating that.
100%.
And so that's obviously really important in a room and for dance music stuff. When I work at home in my room, at my studio at home, just my room, even when I had my treatment in there, under 100 hertz, because I'd done some frequency tests, was terrible. It would drop right off. So when I'm working at home, I know that if I've got speakers in my room that don't bother about trying to get that under 100, that sub-range right, because you can't actually hear it because of the room size. And I've put it in in that calculator, and the bolt ratio tells me it's never going to be perfect.
No.
I'm just outside it. So
Yes.
it's just something you have to then be conscious of. But it's like you said, that's then a writing room,
Yeah, it's a writing room.
not a mixing room.
That's where you're throwing ideas. I mean, a writing room could be you on a headphones in someone's living room for the night, like
And then-
a writing room is just whatever when you want to throw ideas.
I write on
out.
headphones now.
Yeah,
that's how
I'm-
I start writing, and then I only
I think a lot of
come in here and
a
finish
lot
it.
of the people who are coming through here are like, oh, I just want to can I listen to this mix? And you're like, yeah, I did it on headphones, and I'm like, gee, it's not bad. Like, you can do a great job on headphones, but like, there's always just that last little
the last little
10%
bit,
just to balance in that bass.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
It's very important because then once that gets to the other level of mixing and then the mastering, like if you haven't figured out all of that stuff, it's just going to boost all your problems that you didn't
Everything
address.
gets compound. What do they say? You can't polish a turd.
You can roll it in glitter.
You can roll it in glitter.
Oh,
That's
no.
when you put it through the SSL.
Yeah.
But all right, so we've got the corners treated. We've talked about the corners, and like
The corners
there's-
in your
that's for your bass and
your
your
sides.
low end.
Remember we did the mirror test.
Yeah, so let's look at that's what I was going to moving on to
Mirror
next.
test is good.
Initial reflection panels.
So
That's
this is-
what the mirror test
yeah.
is to do.
So this is when you
explain
look at-
the mirror test.
So this is where you're picking up on your tri nodes, which is 3 surfaces. So it's going to hit 3 surfaces before it hits your head. So it's going to go wall, ceiling, wall, and then back or something.
Yeah.
So when you've figured out, okay, this is a great place for my speakers. The room is sounding all right here. This is good.
Yep.
You grab a friend. Always
You need a friend.
You
for
need
this.
a friend.
You can't do this one by yourself. You could probably tape it on the wall and sit down. No, that's not right. But yeah, you need a friend for this one.
Definitely need a friend.
So that could be hard for some of us producers out there, but I'm sure you'll find
So
someone.
you sit in your listening position and your friend walks along the wall with a mirror and you go, yep, I can see my speaker. And that is where your first reflection point is.
So you want to be able to sit in your listening position, look at the mirror on the wall, and be able to see your
On your
speaker.
on
So
your
essentially,
sidewall.
where the speaker, if it was going to hit the wall and come and hit you.
So your friend
you're
comes
getting that
along
initial
and
reflection.
you're like going, Yep.
Stop. I can
and
see
then
it.
stop, and then you get if you're
Put a mark on the wall or something.
if you're get your, is it a Sharpie or a Nico? I don't know what state are we in.
Nico, yeah.
So you put a mark, whatever, and that's where your side panels will go.
And what are we trying to? What the initial reflection panels? That's pretty
That's
broad
what they,
spectrum,
yeah,
isn't
and
it?
that's they call it.
It's not really. It's broad spectrum, isn't it? You're not really just getting the bass.
It's not really a bass.
Mid. It's
a very
top.
it's a very broad spectrum of frequencies,
and that's why our initial reflection panels in here are fiberglass, because that's a better material for broad spectrum, right?
They're fiberglass and they're huge.
Yeah, really big in here.
Because from there you're just dampening the reflection, the first reflections from what's coming from out of your speakers, because your speakers are just going to spit it right out, and you just want those frequencies and those reflection points to be less in an energetic kind of format. So basically, in that regard, you're kind of and this will move on to the next thing. Is then your roof. So when you've got that, you've
is the roof the next thing though?
Yeah.
Would you say that's the next thing after? Because roof's pretty like extreme for most studios, I feel. Like proper studio, yeah. What about back walls?
Back walls are hugely important.
Front walls, like what treatment should you be doing on back and front? Because let's start, because obviously the ceiling stuff is the hardest.
Well, the thing
because you've got to hang it from a roof.
Yeah, I think the ceiling is overlooked. It's not 100% like the end of the world if you can't hang something from there. But the cloud and the what's they call a cloud or a skyline absorber or whatever.
Yeah. We've got two up here in ours.
And they're massive. They're huge and they're Rockwell. And I remember when we got them, I felt that when I was in my listening position, and at a really nice, not a loud level, just a nice level, I just really felt like I was listening to the speaker again finally.
When we put the ceiling
panels
So
up.
we started running into some issues with, we sort of had like a weird hole in the middle of the room, which is where the listening position kind of was, where you could just hear this low end just suck. It just disappeared. So you'd go, you'd be standing and you'd stand in the middle, So then it'd be just the low end would just suck out and disappear, but you could feel pressure in your ears still.
Yeah.
So what we figured out and what we knew from the room mode calculator was it was 80 hertz, which we actually got a mic in, a reference mic, and we tested it. And sure enough, 80 hertz was right. There's this big dip at 80 hertz. And so the room mode calculator told us that 80 hertz is the ceiling and the floor. So that's why we then went, all right, so we need to treat our ceiling. We can't do too much about the floor because it is what it is.
The floor's the floor. You can't get rid of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, we even did discuss building a false floor in here and treating it, but
Floating
that
floor?
would be extreme. Yeah. But yeah, so because of the room mode calculator, we knew that, all right, we've got to treat the ceiling to do that. So that's why I keep coming back to the room mode calculator. It's really important for the whole process because it gives you information scientifically that's mathematical that it is going to be true about your room.
And it also gives you a guide. I mean, it's mathematical, yes.
Yeah.
But then, at the end of the day, you're going to have a couch in there. You're going to have another desk. Like you're going to have
things. There's other things too.
Other things the sound's going to like bounce off. But the calculator is giving you an indication before you put absorption up.
Yeah, before you put anything.
So if you go, oh wow, this room's going to have this huge problem, it's like, well, that's just what you got to tackle.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily just walk away and go, well, I'm just going to burn that room and not be in there. Like,
but that's why you do it, and that's why I tell people, because people go, I want to do treatment and that, and it's like, well, if you haven't done this calculator process, I don't know what you need to do. You might need to do a heap of treatment in certain areas compared to others, and this will give you an indication of that.
And quite literally, it was we could have done have a beer with making absorber panels because that's what we'd do.
Yeah,
we'd like just get the tools out and have a beer, put some cool music on, and make some panels. It's literally is one of the easiest things, and
it's literally all you have to do is make a frame for the size you want, stuff it with stuff. and
stuff it with stuff.
and
Mainly-
stuff it with the material,
mainly
whatever
with the
it is,
material you're
using
gonna
rock
use,
or
yeah.
whatever, and then you just put fabric over it and staple gun it in. Otherwise, I know there's.
You're
I
making
think it's
a pillow.
BNE.Acoustics. It's a Brisbane company that
Yep.
are doing acoustics as well. The guys, one of the guys who used to do Clout Zone in here. He's doing panels and that, so you know you can buy them.
Yeah.
But easy to make yourself. But yeah, so we had that problem. And
Network. I could put you onto a friend of mine, Anton. He would, if you wanted something to look great.
yeah.
You know,
That's the thing. You can make them sound good, but they look shit.
You can, the thing I love about studios is like you can really personalize and make it feel like your own space.
How
So
you want, yeah.
by all means, like if you don't have the time but you have the money, man, there's guys out there who will just make them for you and they'll show up at your house.
Yeah.
And if you know how to hang a picture frame, then you know how to hang a panel.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest thing is like if you're at a rental, like what do? I don't know if I should, drill holes in the wall.
As long as you can fix it.
As long as you
up.
can fix it and do stuff like that, I mean, it's going to be okay. But literally anything that you do is going to improve what you're doing. And especially because I think a lot of guys and girls get into writing and then they get right into like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna mix it myself. I'm gonna and it can really take away from the writing process because you're so then like in tune to how it sounds, and if your room doesn't sound any great,
You're fighting your room.
you're
almost.
fighting you're gonna it's like a losing battle.
It's like whenever I'm at home
and-
in my terrible room and try and do a mix on
Yeah.
my track I'm working on, and I bring it in here in the studio, and I'm like, whoa, that's not what it sounds like in my room.
Yeah.
know?
And then I think the thing that I've really that's been saving grace to me is a few things like Eagle Eye, which is a software program from Plugin Alliance that I can really look at the graph, like the frequency graph, and what it's actually doing, and then I can
Hawkeye,
make
not Eagle Eye. Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Hawkeye. Is it
You
Hawkeye?
said Eagle Eye.
Did I?
It's Hawkeye.
Oh, it's Hawkeye.
It's called Hawkeye.
Okay. My bad.
Yeah, really good metering tool, right?
Yeah. So having that metering program visually to have a look at what's going on, because that, if there's big problems happening in your room, then that's kind of like you going, okay, my room's a little bit lying to me.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other thing that is really fantastic that I've found is having different speakers set up in other places to reference off your track.
You mean outside the studio?
Outside the studio, i.e. car, another set of...
Yeah, everyone knows the speaker, the car test, the phone test, the headphone test, the earbud test.
I would basically, if...
Everything you can.
Just say you're on your second pair of studio monitors, like you've upgraded to a really nice pair. Keep those second set of studio monitors like in a living room, a place where people listen to music, a place where like that's where it's going to sound.
So you can listen to it, check it out.
In that kind of natural setting of where music's listened to. So maybe that room in that lounge room will kind of sound all right,
Yeah.
Also, get a little 2.1 system, like a little Logitech or something. Think about how the majority of society listen to music these days.
Yeah.
Laptop speakers and the old phone
Earbuds.
tests. Earbuds. I mean,
UE Boom.
UE Booms, yeah.
UE Boom, that's a good one to do reference to.
We've got about 3 or 4 of those at home.
Yeah.
I always grab my roommates and go, hey, I need your UE Boom. And I listen to it and I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets easier the more you do it. Obviously, that's just repetition. And the more you get into your room, I mean, you might have just moved somewhere. Like, a lot of people have to move every 6-7 months or every 2 years, So you kind of feel like, if you just feel like you're starting again, it's like, it's all right. Because if you just follow a couple of simple things, you can really
It's not actually rocket science.
Yeah, you can actually you actually really get a great sound out of your room. And I think even if you were not inclined to mix your own tunes, but produce and write a lot of your own tunes, I mean, it's going to help a mastering guy. It's going to help a mix guy.
Yeah, and you're
If
going to get
you're in a
closer
great
to
place.
what it is. What you're hearing in your room is closer to what it is.
So in that regard, if you're writing in a treated room, half treated room or whatever, the you're not going to have to work on the sound as hard. And you're just going to be able to enjoy your music.
It's going to be better from the start.
Yeah. You're just like, yeah. So it's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Very much.
So then if you want to, we've talked about our corners, our initial reflection panels. We spoke about what the ceiling and floor can do and when you need it. But again, like we said, you've got to do the room calculator, which will give you an idea of what maybe the ceiling is going to affect. And then when you actually maybe use a reference mic, if you can grab one, they're super cheap to hire.
You can hire them for like $5
for a day. You can test it in your room and you can see... maybe where it says the ceiling is going to be a problem, it's not an issue in your room for whatever reason. And then you don't have to put ceiling panels maybe. Or it is a big issue and then you do.
What was the programs that we used for the... it was
I don't know
Rev?
what it was.
It was REV.
REV, yeah. There's another program on there. Where
if you have Mac...
well, I've got Mac. It was through Mac.
Yeah, and there's another one called Fuzz Measure Pro.
Yeah,
Fuzz Measure Pro is a good one. I mean, you can basically get a month free trial.
Yeah,
and all the functions work. And that one is actually really good because it does a thing called as RT60, which is the reverb time of your room.
Oh yeah.
And this is where if we decide to go to a bigger space, like a bigger room, our big issue in a bigger space is not just we've got to capture everything because we're in a small room, we're in a big room, so we're going to have what we call reverb issue. So we're going to have a sound that comes out of the speaker, hits
something ages away,
and then takes like 3 seconds to get back to you. So it's just going to have that time delay slap that we have, which is not necessarily like a bad thing.
Yeah, we should be able to control it though.
But moving to a big space, the biggest issue is, like putting a treatment over such a larger area.
Yeah.
Which costs money. And if you were to buy all of that stuff, man, it would cost you thousands.
So we're gonna have to make a heap of panels.
So maybe we might have if we do all this stuff, we might have a move day. Come make panels with us day.
Yeah, and if you want to make panels, you can come and learn how to make them and
we'll
make
do a
some
sausage
yourself as well. We should do that, like a community.
And a vegan sausage sizzle.
Oh, fuck the vegans. No, that's a lie. I love vegans. I've got many vegan friends. Don't hate on me. So initially in this room we had just our two tops. We've got 8-inch Adams. I think it's the A8X series, the older ones. Really amazing speaker, but we found that we were getting some phasing sort of issues, cancellation. That was part of what happened in that middle of the room too. You want to talk about why and when you choose to have a sub in a room?
Well,
or why we chose at least. Yeah, the two different sort of things.
Well, I think the length of the room and of course that cycle, which is that frequency, comes in and hits the wall and then bounces back to back of your head near your listening position. And when you phase something, it's actually like turning it down. So if you get two waveforms and you phase invert, you get silence. So if you get two sine waves and you phase invert one, you get silence. I mean, it's like, so when you're in a room and as you've got this huge sine wave that's going at 80 hertz or 90 hertz, whatever it was, we were getting this silence and this, pretty much was like 3/4 back almost.
Yeah.
But then we were finding that when we're talking to Paul, and he goes, "Hey man, I got the PreSonus 8-inch. Was it 8-inch or 10?
10-inch.
It's a 10-inch. Sorry. So he said, "Why don't you give it a roll?" Because we were going to buy one, and we were thinking, "Oh yeah." And I don't think it instantly fixed the problem. It was
a combination of the sub and the roof, because it was like it was that 80 hertz sort of range around that I think was still the problem with that. And once basically what we did was put the sub in and the two tops. We pulled the
great.
the crossover to about 110, 120. So everything under 110 hertz was coming from one source. The sub.
Source, yeah.
And that's coming from the one. It wasn't bouncing off the walls with the two, and then cancelling and phasing itself. So that's why it helped us.
It's really interesting because now I remember when I had one speaker on in here, and I was like,
sounded great.
I was like, "Fuck, it's fantastic."
As soon as you turn the other one on,
and then the other one came on and just went,
and the bass disappears. It's such a weird feeling. You have one speaker on and the bass is loud, and then you turn the other one on and the bass turns down. Like it's, it's
and
really crazy.
You're listening to Bob Marley, Sun is Shining, and you're like, where is that?
Where's that bass?
Where's that? Yeah. It's all about that. That's why I love dub. And
your dub
and monoing. So basically, the sub in here would mono that that frequency. So under that 100 hertz.
Yeah, you weren't getting two signals bouncing off the wall and then hitting each other.
And it's close to the ground. It's about 2 inches off the ground, the sub. There's also a huge like forums and stuff on where to position your sub.
We tried a heap of places too.
We did.
In the center, it seemed to be the best for us.
I liked the center. I mean,
people talk about putting it in a corner or like all different like positions but yeah, we just found the center was the best.
It's not law. I'm not telling you need to do all of this or any of this, but these are just really great recommendations because every room is different. It's like every song. Every song is different. You do different things to work out what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when you do all of this stuff to your room, you're going to enjoy music a lot more. It means you're going to write longer. It means you're going to mix a little bit longer. The other thing about mixing, like when you turn up your monitor, you realize you're turning up your room's problems. All right? There's a huge thing about. I personally love to crank it when I want to feel it. I try to make no decisions when it's that loud, and then I'll bring it down to probably nearly around 80 dB.
That's what we need in our next room, I reckon, a dB meter.
So
let's buy one of Paul. He said he's got two.
Yes.
dB meter.
So
look after your ears, kids.
So that after 10 years in the industry.
Yeah.
So you would just want to make sort of small mix decisions when the track is loud. And a lot of guys will send me just like, "Hey man, can you just have a listen? What's going on?" Man, I will listen to it so soft, and I'll pick out the 3 things that are the loudest, and then I'll turn it up, and I'm like, if I can pick out another 3 or 4 things, I'll just write my notes. These things are your loudest elements. Just make sure that that's the element that is
you want to be the loudest,
because that's the one that's going to dominate out of the whole mix.
That's it. Listening at low levels, low volume is really
low volume. You get the mix sounding great at low volume. I mean, what's going to happen? You keep turning it up, it's just going to keep sounding great.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do we're not going to do a little thing about mixing.
No. This is about sound treatment.
This is about a little sound treatment. So
let's move on to a little bit of like diffusers. We are called Diffuse Studios. Yeah. We don't have any diffusers yet. No. We probably should fix that up.
Well, anything with wood on it is a diffuse. And
explain what a diffuser is and what its purpose is.
Basically, that is to an absorber will absorb the sound. That's pretty rudimentary. But then a diffuser is there to dissipate and spread the sound. So
scatter it.
It's like it's gonna, like we said, we're trying to lessen the energy of that frequency or that weight or whatever's coming out of your speakers. So you are just primarily just trying to get that sound to just dissipate. And what a diffuser will do is it will bring back a little bit of liveliness to your room. So if you've just gone overboard, and then you've like done another test and you're like, oh wow, it's like maybe too flat, and you just want to like, it's not going to liven it up, but it's just going to make it. It's just another way to soften it a little bit. So that's where shit gets real mathematical.
Yeah, diffusers and stuff. But there's easy ways to do all this stuff DIY, because like you said before, everything you add into your room is going to change the sound. So a big couch at the back, That's a big sound absorber. It's absorbing sound. And even I've actually forgot that we put, but remember we've got that actual absorber down on the ground underneath. Remember where when we first put the TV up, the TV actually fell out of the wall.
Oh, that's right.
There's no behind our TV. There's no there's no stud. There's no studs. So we were just going in with like the Gyprock, whatever they're called, set in. So yeah, we've got stuff.
The cool thing about that absorber, it was just given to me, so I was just like, okay,
it's real thick too.
Thanks. And
forgot about it.
it just like, you want your place to look aesthetically nice. You want to look at it and go, this, it's pleasing to my eye.
Bit, yeah.
And I mean, there was no reason why I put it there. I just put it there.
Yeah, we talked about it. It needs to go somewhere.
So we put another massive absorber just at the bottom, and I think
back wall.
And I think that's probably just going to be handling whatever the sub is doing down there.
Yeah,
really.
I think so too. Yeah, because the sub's right in front of it.
Yeah. So basically, having a wooden diffuser is going to liven up your room without making it real slappy and bright. So different angles. Basically the sound's going to hit it and it's going to sort of scatter. When it hits an absorber, it's just energy loss. Energy loss. It absorbs it. And what it does with the diffuser, it's like this. It's like all different, and it's just going to go. It's just going to kind of do this. So, primarily, I think diffusers are mostly used in bigger rooms.
So we might need some.
Or in rooms that have had quite a lot of treatment. You'll also use them when they do the whole room within the room.
And you build another room inside.
That's basically, if we would decided, and I had an inkling about this, was to build out a stud wall and fill it full of absorption.
Yeah.
So you would build, this is the room within the room. This is how the nuts you can go. We're going down the rabbit hole now.
And then you can even have it like it's sitting on the floor is sitting on tires.
So
like half cut tires.
Let's not talk about floating floors.
Floating floors, yeah.
And then from that case, when you come in from there, you might have another couple of absorption panels. But then you have gone to the point where it's like you might need to just add a couple of more pieces of like wooden diffusers to liven up the room a little bit.
Because it's absorbing too much.
Yeah.
Because really,
it's
what
weird.
you
don't want to say lively up the room, but it's just a more softer way to absorb sound.
Yeah.
Whereas an absorber full of foam is like heavy duty. Yeah. Like that's when you want it to stop.
So let's talk about materials of the room, what it's made of. For example, if you've got a Gyprock room, great. Diffused Studios originally was in a single carport garage, so it was tin on the outside.
Tin.
Then a hardwood frame.
Which had,
and then you put in
fiberglass.
You put fiberglass and stuff and carpet inside, and then ply on the walls, and then your absorbers. So those walls, a lot of it's getting absorbed and then going out of the room. There's not a lot of slap back because it's not a hard, solid material like concrete, Vesta block, kind of stuff.
I get really worried when someone has a concrete floor because it's the sound it's got nowhere to go but to bounce back onto you.
And it's going to be whatever that when you put it in the mode calculator, it'll tell you what frequency from the size of your room. So that's going to be the problem.
The whole thing about a floating floor is it's you can really stuff that up. It can actually turn into a resonator, which is going to just increase the problems that were already there. Remember when I was doing college, the drum and bass guys, Noisier?
Yeah.
Okay, those guys built the studio.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
And this was back in like maybe 2014, when I was sort of doing sound college. And these guys were like building it from the ground up, and everyone was just in awe about what they were doing, like floating floors, clear glass, obviously not all of us are, world producers DJs from
multiple.
with like multi like
We can't all have a multi-million-dollar recording studio.
Yes, but the cool thing about a home studio, a writing room, everything like that, it's basically like it's 2020, man. Billie Eilish, they wrote all of their music in a bedroom.
Yeah,
they write,
but
everything.
They didn't mix it there.
They didn't mix it. They didn't. That's right. But
they probably didn't record the vocals and stuff. They would have gone and re-recorded them.
No, they did a lot of the recording of the vocals. There's a really good discussion on Mixbus TV that was really cool.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah. So the idea of just doing those couple of little things to improve your sound, basically that will help people like me as a mix engineer and people that I know as like mixing and mastering engineers to get something that we don't have to, like, I don't know, there's not too much back and forth. There's a lot of back and forth that always happens.
Yeah.
Like, your kick drum might be has too much length in it.
Are you talking about all my kick drums?
No, I'm talking about other people's.
I'm always trying to shorten my kicks though, but yeah.
So, there's like, oh, hey,
but often, so
things.
that's a good point to make, is that often when I'm working at home in my room where under 100 hertz I can't really hear.
So you're just boosting.
Well, no. So I'll have a kick, but the tail of the kick is all under 100 hertz because it's like a kick. It has that low end tail at the end, and so I don't hear the low end tail in my room at home and think it's a punchy tight kick.
Yeah.
And then when I bring it here, it's all of a sudden the low end's muddy and there's because I'm not using a side chain, I'm using kick start or something that's not side chaining it. It's actually just putting a volume automation.
Yeah.
It sounds real muddy and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I realize that my kick's tail's long.
Well, I feel especially with dance, is you get a masking of a frequency, and it always happens in the bass. And the whole, I know we're talking a little bit off topic on mixing now, but this is probably relative to someone being in a room that's not treated, so they either can't hear that or they're boosting it to try to hear what's going on.
Yeah. And then you come in here and it's like, whoa, that's way too loud. Like, that sub is loud as.
So I get a lot of the time I'll get something that's like 200 hertz and it's like kick and bass, like that's a fundamental of two things happening.
Yeah.
So a fundamental or whatever, it's going to increase that by 3 or 4 dB. What's it, 3 dB every time you mask something? So those two frequencies happening at the same time, it's like it's going to be up here in the mix, everything else is going to be down here.
Yeah.
And so by the time you turn that down to balance that up, it sounds hollow and it just sounds like lifeless. So you really need to work on those elements. And when you're not in a space that has that, or you just don't understand what that is yet because you haven't heard it, you will try to compensate with turning things up or doing some crazy weird things with compression and
So what about headphones? Let's talk about like studio headphones
are fantastic.
And things like that. Like I've got and I use them sometimes at home for writing and stuff. The Hi-Fi Man 400 Eyes, cheap, basic, sort of entry level studio headphone. About $400-500.
I mostly use headphones to track vocals, so I can
but
I can
all
hear
these
what they're
headphones
doing.
in here are cheap. They're not like my one. But
I don't.
That's an entry level.
Yeah.
Planar though. Let's talk about the difference between a studio headphone and a normal that has a diaphragm dynamic headphone that's closed back, not open cup. So like studio headphones for everyone out there, majority of the time are a planar driver. Mm-hmm. So it's not a dynamic like a cone, like a speaker or whatever. It's like a plate. It's not
it's independently moving.
Yeah, and so the plate, and so you've got open cups, so the sound can go out as well, which means you can hear in as well. Mm-hmm. But what it means is that you're getting a flatter, truer expression of the sound because it's not directing it in a certain.
And I
area.
think there's also you can spend like $2,000 on doing all this DIY stuff.
Yeah.
Or you can go and get some headphones.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is like if you put the bolt rate, if you put the measurements of your room in, and the bolt ratio is absolutely terrible and whack, just get some really good headphones.
Yeah, headphones are fantastic, but I think the technology for headphones has come a long way in the last probably 5-6 years.
Did you try the ones that Buster Flux brought over that time when they were awesome, man? Like they're like a $1,700-$1,800 pair of headphones, but like they're great for production.
What was the brand again? What was the brand?
I think they were Audis.
Audis. I think Audis, and I think if you want a rep, go out to see Chris at Federal Audio.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a great guy. He services Adams and.
I hope we're getting kickbacks for this.
Maybe.
If anyone takes over, use this code. Use a beer with. Just mention a beer with, so we get some kickbacks.
It's a very good call. Personally,
and writing, you could write so mad on those headphones.
Personally, I feel headphones don't work for me.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a phase you go through.
But if you owned a pair of those headphones and used them a lot and worked with them, I'm sure you would change that perspective. It's like a room. It's like a room. You said it takes 3 months or so to get used to the room.
Yeah.
Same with the headphones. You need to work with them and understand the sound.
Personally, I just think I'm just liking rooms.
You just like having a studio. It's better. And the other thing is with headphones, a lot of people talk about you have to pair them with a sub pack and things because that low end you don't get that feeling of the sub and that under 100 hertz.
Well, that's my whole mix process is like mix low. I'll do a balance without even any plugins.
Yeah,
and then from there I want to feel. So I'm just like used to just doing that. So I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
So that's just what I'm used to. It works for me. I'm not saying that's what everybody else needs, but that's just works for me. So I think headphones, in a regard, will definitely help if you're not in.
If you don't have a room that's in the bolt ratio, that's going to sound good.
If you're in a room that's going to cost you thousands of dollars to put together, you might just want to put a little bit of treatment on and just go and get some great headphones.
And to be honest, like the headphones, the beauty of that is that you can take them anywhere. You can go to on a holiday and take your headphones and work in that studio.
Yeah, 100%.
You can be out under a tree at a farm.
I mean, when I used to have to have all my gear and stuff in a share house and have to deal with the politics of other people.
Yeah.
Sound is repetitive sound. It's offensive.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it. I get it. But when you want to chuck those headphones on, make sure you've got some good ones.
Yeah.
Make sure you've
The
got
only
some
problem
good
with
ones.
headphones is it's hard to be sitting in the same space and be collabing if you've both got headphones. If you've only got headphones. I mean, if you both got dope headphones, you could put a splitter in and listen. But that's the thing. That's the one sort of thing that's sort of a drawback is if you want to both sit in the same room and work on a track and collab on something, headphones kind of, it's just not the same.
See, that's why I'm just like, they're great for like a tool, like a thing, like a reference or a thing, or if you need to be quiet, if you you've got some shitty neighbors that just hate you and you can't move because you're lease.
Yeah.
So other cool things is about I think was like when I converted the shed into a studio.
Yeah.
Basically because of that reason. So I had a space that I could mess around with sound.
Yeah.
Because learning is making mistakes. It doesn't matter what you do, you learn from mistakes. I hope you do anyway. So having a space for that, and I think I talked about that on the last one. How really important it is in kind of in the back of your head that no one's going to come in and go, you need to turn it down.
Can you turn it down? You know that you're not annoying anyone, but you also know that you're not going to be annoyed and influenced by any other sounds outside.
There's a whole cool thing about when artists write albums and they just detach from their world like for 3 weeks. It's like music, and then that's the really cool thing is from that you get into what they call the flow state.
Yeah, flow state.
So flow state is really good. I think that's probably why I'm into music the most that I'm into, is because
you get in that flow state.
well, yeah, and it's
there's been times when I've been back here, like we've been here, and I've been doing something on my laptop, like just sorting some admin business stuff. You're just up there mixing, and it's just like you're working on something for like an hour, like one little element, and then I'm like, and you're just so into it, and then like I'm like, bro, you've been working on that for a while, and you're like, oh yeah, how long? And I'm like, dude, you've been working on that like one sound for like an hour, and you're like, oh really? It feels like 10 minutes. Like
it does.
Yeah.
I told this to a kid the other day. I was like, man, you work on music, and like you're like, hey, it's time to go, and they're like, oh, what?
Oh really? Yeah.
Really? Time does just slip away on you really quick. But flow state is definitely a place where you're not going to get out of distractions.
Is there anything you do to get into that flow state? Because I think that's a big thing for production. Like when
true.
I can get into a flow state, I can sit there and work and produce and work on music for hours
hard.
and hours and hours on end without even thinking.
I always put it down to the if you can kind of put it towards like, okay, just say you had a chore you had to do.
Yeah.
And it's not like you hate doing the chore. It's just about getting to the part where you're doing the chore or doing a bit. It's like, it might be starting something. So always when, like personally for me, just before I start something, it's for whatever it is, I don't know. It's like, and this might sound kind of silly, but all I need to do is get in a car and drive here.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing I have to do here.
And then you're here and you're like, oh, we're here to do music.
And I'm like, I should have maybe been here an hour ago.
Yeah.
But then I think getting into that flow state from this, like just from the get-go, doesn't happen.
No.
You need to sort of like mentally kind of prepare yourself in a little way.
So what do you do? What are
a couple of things I do.
Do you have anything? I
listen to music.
Yeah.
Like I get like, in a weird way, I get a little bit hyped up.
Yeah.
I will
inspired.
I will listen to old mixes that I've done, and I'm like, oh man, that sounded cool. Like, just, so don't just step into a room and press play and just like open up your project and go. Like, listen to some of your favorite artists for a bit.
Yeah.
And then your ears will get tuned back into your room a little bit, because maybe it's been 3 days.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been 4 days. Maybe you've been on holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe you haven't been back in your room for fucking 4 weeks. You need to adjust back into it.
Yeah.
But I know, it's really cool. Now I know when I'm in a flow state is if the track's 3 minutes or if it's 6 minutes or whatever, on my in Pro Tools, I'll just do a loop. You can do it on any program, I guess, but you just do a loop. So now you're listening to the whole thing, and you just make these tiny little finesse little parts.
Changes on bits.
And you always get to this point when you're just about to finish something. So you get to this point where you're like, there is only small things that I can do to it to improve it, not massive things.
Yeah.
So
you get the 2-bus out.
The two. Oh, we could talk about 2-bus. Maybe that's another time.
Talk about 2-bus. That's a whole other podcast. The 2-bus.
Yeah.
But actually, let's have a quick break because I need to take a pee, and then let's come back and finish her off.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Okay.
All right, we'll be back. And we're back once again. The Renegade Masters.
Back again.
So we did get a little bit off topic, but that's fine.
That's what happens.
That's what happens on podcasts and these kind of things. But so let's just do a quick recap of what we've said from the start, sort of. So first things, room size. Use the room mode calculator, link in the description, and put your measurements in and have a look at all the stuff it gives you. It gives you explanations of everything. Yeah. It tells you what the bolt ratio means. It tells you what all these other things mean. It describes it all. So it's a great learning tool and a great way to just get more information about your room. So you have more of an idea what's going on.
Especially if that room that you're going to dedicate towards music could be a choice of a couple of rooms in a house. Like you're moving to a new house or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%.
And you've got 3 rooms there, and you're like, which one should be the studio? Put the measurements into the thing, and it'll tell you. So you do that first. Next thing's generally bass traps. You want to, have some bass traps to absorb the bass sound, so that you're going to work those lower frequencies from, say, 120 below.
Well, they don't really. Oh man, 120 below is really hard to. Really hard to absorb.
It's going to help.
Basically, they call it bass traps because I don't know. It does sound cool.
It does sound cool. It's a marketing thing.
But if you look at the coefficient for an absorption panel, below 200 hertz, man, you have to double thicken. So real estate is expensive. So you're not going to be able to come out like 6-7 inches.
Maybe your absorbers.
Yeah.
Ones I have.
So
yeah, I'm just joking. Yeah. Because it's really hard to actually absorb that low end, but you're just doing your best to try and do it to get some of it.
100%. 100% in there. And then you really need to look at your side reflections.
Initial reflection
So
panels.
that was the mirror trick.
That first.
All right, grab a friend, grab a mirror, set up your speakers.
Do the side thing.
Sit in the listening position and look. And when that mirror comes in and you see that speaker, you go, stop it there.
And that's where you put those panels. So you want to do all 4 corners.
Yep.
Those initial reflections. You probably want a little bit behind the speakers.
Yeah, you want
something. We haven't really talked about that. So why do we do that? Why do we treat that
front and back wall? I think the biggest thing we didn't do here is the back wall, which is
we haven't done
what we're
anything
seeing
to the
here.
back wall, which is exactly where the podcast is shot to. So it's just this boring back wall.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to put the diffuse sign here, but it looked a bit shit. Looked a bit average. We'll make sure we fix it in the new studio. We'll have a beer with logo, and we'll have some cool shit on the wall to give a bit of vibe.
Front and back wall is just slap back.
Yeah.
You're going to get from your speaker to your front wall is going to come back. So that's what they call your first axial reflection. So it's off one surface. Same with the back. It's an axial front to back. Yeah. We probably could have done a lot better with just doing some back stuff. But I mean, ultimately too, like people mix in probably worse rooms than you could think of, because that's just what's available. I mean, people don't want to be in a studio. They want to just be at home mixing or something.
But fuck those people. We're talking about how to make a studio sound dope, and whether it's just at home and you do some of these things,
whatever,
to a little bit. But
basically, you have to work with what you've got.
Yeah,
so, and if that's the case, having those couple of tools that we've all just spoken about, it's literally going to turn your speakers that you probably spent a couple of grand on to actually sounding fucking great.
And that's the thing, there's no good, if we put these 8-inch Atoms, which are what, 3-4 grand or whatever, into my room at home, it would sound not great because of the room size. I don't have I don't have any treatment there anymore because it's all here. But it's like people are like, oh, what speakers should I get? And it's like, well,
I remember I used to
what treatment have you done to your room?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing. Well, it doesn't really matter the speakers you get because it gonna sound shit anyway.
I guess I've
not shit, but
before we moved here, I used to have parties, and I used to set them up and have parties with them, and I used to set them up in the lounge room. And I was like, oh, man, cool. But, I remember going in and just going, man, this is so lively. It was just boom, boom, boom. Everything just sounds alive. And, you're DJing. So you're DJing, professionally mixed and mastered tunes. So it sounds good.
Yeah.
But, you're just thinking, far out, man, this room's huge.
Yeah, massive room.
Just, then you suck in a couple, 20 people, and it's it's a cool vibe.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? We talk room calculator. Based speaker position,
listening
position,
yes,
bass traps, initial reflection panels. We spoke about the front and back walls. We've spoken about like the ceiling and the floor, that could be important as well.
Yeah.
Whether you need a sub, obviously you need a bigger room for a sub as well. You can't have a really small 2x3 meter room.
My last studio was small, too small. Even my Adams were almost a little bit too big.
Yeah, could get
That
quite
time we got
boomy.
the 7s in there, that was like, ooh.
Yeah, so we had the 8s getting serviced or getting repaired, and they gave us a pair of 7s, and we were like, "Oh,
Chris.
these actually sound better in this room because
Thanks,
they're
Chris.
not too big."
That was awesome.
So yeah, I think that's some things to think about, you know. And then we talk about speakers, like, you know, like we're just saying, like they are important for your room, but you know, it's about getting the right size speaker, and then about what quality and what you want to do with them, you know.
But I for someone who's wanted to produce and to mix a little bit, because obviously you're always going to mix a bit when you're producing, especially dance music, because you have those tools for
Yeah,
for
it's
that.
all there.
It's not just instruments, right?
Yeah.
I would depending on the room size, if it was a small room, I would say anything from a 7-inch speaker cone, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
If you go up to an 8 or a 9, you'd probably still be okay. But like I said, you increase the volume. If you haven't done any treatment or anything on that regard, you're just going to bring up your problems.
Yeah.
So you're just going to be, what we said, you're just going to be fighting a losing battle.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's like it's great to have great speakers, but if your room's not
If your room's
great,
not there.
it's not gonna sound
Yeah.
that good. And I think that's, you know, there's some little things in there, little tips people can do, and you know, build your own traps. Don't buy those little crinkly eggshell egg carton foam
Don't go to Amazon and
type
just
things,
type in
those
acoustics.
cheap foams. That is not like,
No.
if you look at the coefficients of those, like it doesn't absorb anything below like
Like,
1,000 hertz or whatever. It's like real high, so it's like voice range spectrum, which is important to absorb, but really you want to be in
if that's
the
what you're
small
doing,
room,
if that's
work
what you're
on
doing,
top
record.
room.
Like if you were just doing this,
Yeah, if you're just doing a podcast, you could just coat the room in that shit and it'd be fine.
you're all right, man. It looks pretty ugly, but you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is, you know.
And egg cartons aren't a real thing either. I don't know. Is there any? There's no reason. You know, the old egg carton thing.
You went there.
Is that a myth? Is there any? That's basically like a diffuser.
I feel like that should be like a MythBuster episode.
That's totally a myth. We should do that.
That's cool.
Actually, do some sound treatment with egg cartons.
They don't do it like
They don't
it's
do
cardboard.
Yeah. It's kind of like a diffuser, though, isn't it?
No,
'Cause it's like
but-
different shapes. No,
It's so thinly
It's
poured.
just
It's
nothing.
yeah.
so don't use egg cartons. Not
don't-
that we've ever considered that, but it's something people talk about.
But I think it's a little bit of just a
Bit of an
funny,
urban myth, a
Yeah, it's a
funny
funny.
thing, yeah.
It's a funny talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else? Like flooring. Let's talk a little bit about the floor, because this room that we're in as well is originally tiled.
Tiled.
It's a tiled concrete floor. We've got black rubber matting. That Paul had installed already
So the whole place.
on the floor. So the rubber helps to absorb and dampen a little bit the sound. And then apart from putting a false floor in, you can put rugs, carpet, that kind of stuff. Anything that's that soft sort of stuff. Hey,
Rugs,
like, you put that-
carpet. I've seen places that like they'll have the desk, or just your studio desk with your keyboard, or if it's a mixing board or whatever, that's on some carpet.
Yeah.
Where your speakers live and everything. They might have some vinyl flooring for your swivel,
Yeah. So your chair.
and then it might come back to carpet, or just be vinyl flooring for a bit. But underneath that, it's definitely important. If you've got concrete tile, different very slappy materials, especially if that floor is on the ground level.
I was just going to say that. So here in this studio, we're on the first floor, so not on the ground, the first floor, which
second level, but it's first level.
yeah, first level.
Sorry, yeah,
compared to ground. And so we don't have where we do have tiles and concrete. It's still not the same as being on a flat floor. And the old studio at your place was on raised stilts too.
Raised stilts,
and it was a wooden floor, so it was even better for the low end for that ground because it would have. It had like a good 30 centimeters between the floor and the actual ground. So again, it's acting a little bit like an absorber, losing some energy when it hits the ground, going through and hitting the actual earth, bouncing back, and then absorbing again. So we had that benefit in the last place as well.
So how sound leaves the room as well is also important, like because you're trapping it inside. Well, not trapping it, but it's inside.
Absorbing it, yeah.
So, if you're on a ground level, it's raised. That's a great thing. If you're in a basement,
It's pretty bad.
Well, it can be.
If you absorb it all, it's all right.
It can be. But if you absorb it, but like, that floor, even though it gets overlooked a lot, it's a reflection point. It's
just because a lot of the time you can't do a lot from it.
Exactly.
In certain spaces, yeah.
That way you, I'd never really looked at rubber flooring before, and I'm guaranteed that this is better than what's down there.
Yeah.
And
because it's tiles underneath.
Tiles, and then we've been looking at empty rooms and a whole bunch of places.
Yeah.
We went to a room today that was concrete.
That was a trip, man.
Concrete,
so this
glass,
room, but that makes sense then because the top floor was. So this is a space that has 2 floors, bottom floor, top floor, first floor, and they're both polished concrete.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be a tattoo parlor, some things fell through, didn't happen. So they've got polished concrete, and so we went up to the first floor for where we would probably have the control room, and it sounded surprisingly dead considering a couple of walls were brick. There was windows. I think a lot of that sound was escaping through the window glass.
I felt like that too. That was really thin glass.
Once we would absorb. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that. But anyway,
it was tripped.
We were really surprised at how dead and less like when you would clap, you wouldn't get like a big echo come through the room, which was really surprising. And we think it was because of each surface in the room was quite different. It wasn't the same uniform material. It wasn't like brick walls or concrete, it was all different materials.
So it's like we said, every room is uniquely different.
Yeah.
Architecturally wise, we don't make rooms for sound. We make rooms for people to live in or work.
To maximize space.
And so it's squares. And this, like, if you really had the money, you would maybe go look at the QUT campus and what's happened there.
Or the UQ one. Shout out Moss.
Yeah.
UQ.
That's odd shaped rooms, and you walk in there and instantly you're just amazed. So I think at the end of the day, we're all not going to have that in our home. Maybe it's probably not going to be a place where we get to work. There's a few privileged people that get to work in these
amazing studios,
places, but to get to that level, you have to work hard and you have to know what that is. I know a lot of our friends have been students and have been granted access to go into these places, and they know. Yeah. But then when we come back down to having home studios and having studios, it's like those simple things that we've discussed today really have
huge impact. Huge. Like people don't understand, and it's like
how big?
Huge. Yeah, big time.
Big implications.
That's my new saying. I'm trying to say big time.
Big implications on how you react to the music that's happening in your space.
Yeah. And I think it's really, it's something a lot of people can do a little bit of work on in, like any space can be improved. Yeah. And that's why I say to people, do the room mode thing and you'll figure out what the things are that need to be. And
if you're friends with me, friends with him, like
I am so surprised. Just send us all these like we're awesome producers, people who've been working on music for years and years and years. And it's like, oh, have you put your room into a room mode calculator ever? And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh my God, like this is the first thing you should do. So everyone,
you get used to your room.
If you're watching or listening to this, put your room size in today, tomorrow, it'll just at least give you an idea of certain frequencies that are gonna maybe be problems in your room.
You might be like hell surprised, or you might go, oh yeah, that's what. Oh yeah, I kind of thought that. You know, it's just a really cool indication on like the physical space that you're in.
And it's free. We're not getting anything for this. It's just a really handy tool. So we're obviously plugging it a lot, but it's a really cool tool to use. So let's talk about Johnny quickly before we wrap up, because we have talked about quite a bit of the things that we wanted to touch on. But let's talk about some cheap DIY ways of absorbing sound. Things like you were talking about, bookcases at the back of the room, and all that kind
bookcases,
of stuff.
rugs on the wall.
There's heaps of things you can do, like
your friends on the back couch.
So a couch in the room absorbs sound. You know, literally anything in the room is going to change your room sound. So,
you know, clothes rack on the side.
Anything that's
like
like
stuff, man.
anything you think would absorb sound.
It will. I mean, the other thing is like, we live in Queensland. We have Queenslanders. They're wooden rooms.
Yeah.
Like your roommate, your neighbor is like literally that far away.
Yeah.
All right. I think if you put some absorption up on the panel, they're going to be like, oh, thanks, bro.
Thanks, bro. Yeah.
If you live in a modern Australian apartment in Queensland here, it's all going to be chip rock. Okay, you're probably not going to be able to fucking drill holes and shit in the wall and put shit up. But if you can do it and you can cloud it up and you can get out of there, trust me, man, it's going to be all right.
And even some stuff to be able to just lean against the wall. Like for a while in my room, which isn't in the bolt ratio, so it's never going to sound great. I had my absorption that was just sitting on the ground against the walls, and it helped. You know, it did help.
If you have a bed, like put the bed at the back of the room.
Absorb some of the sound.
Some of the sound. If you get a bed that can fold into a kind of like couch, but yeah, like anything really, anything that's going to absorb sound well. So I would suggest
it's like a foam or a cushion or a rugs, books,
definitely
even
rugs.
that kind of stuff.
But ultimately, building a couple of tiny little absorbers from just frames of wood with the absorption and some fabric over the top. Basically, you need a drill, some screws, and a staple gun.
Yeah.
And some fabric, some wood,
and the
absorption.
It's really not hard.
Was it 7?
It's really not hard to do.
Did I count my thumb then?
Honestly, if Johnny can build it, you can build it.
Okay, I am totally not a carpenter.
Yeah.
I am like, I measure once, cut 3 times. Like, it's really bad.
Measure once, cut 3 times.
It's pretty bad.
Because you fuck it up and then you go, oh, fuck, now I'm going to go down to Bunnies and get more wood. I fucked it up.
But yeah, you would, like, you'd be surprised. I think
we should do a acoustic panel building day for when we move into a new space and we need to move some. Yeah. If we find a space and we need to build some more, I reckon we do a community day where if anyone wants to come, learn how to build panels. And
they're super easy.
Build panels.
They really are. They're super easy.
Come and do it.
They're super cheap. If you like, if you and some friends just love getting the tools out and getting dirty, it's kind of like it's a nice distraction away from music production as well, and it's ultimately just going to make things great. But I will also get Jai to put in the links just some really good videos on talks about acoustics.
Yeah, we'll put a couple in there.
Which really breaks it down to a kind of really would we say a really human level, and not just a like a nerd out mathematical equation.
So what, you think they explained it better than we did? Probably. We went on tangents and things,
a little bit. Plus there's also some great books and things that you'll link from those things.
I think this is one of those episodes where we'll have a lot of links to resources for people to go and look at, because I think it's one where a good little basic overview of things.
Yeah.
And like you said, every room is extremely different.
Everyone's different.
So you really need to, and that's why you need to put your measurements of your room into the room mode calculator so you can figure it out. And I'm always like so surprised at how many people don't know about that who are like great producers.
Because you know what I do? This is okay. So if I'm like writing some tunes, if I'm messing around with some shit, testing some plugins and stuff, like it's fucking loud.
Yeah.
I just like to pump it because I feel it. I feel like I'm at a gig. It's I'm alive, right? Yeah. And I'm in this studio, so I can, and it's really great. When I go to mix mode, when I'm mixing someone else's tune or doing whatever, it's different, man. I'm low.
Because you want to work on it for a while too.
Working on it, so
that's the thing. Like you got to work on it. You can't have it too loud, otherwise your ears get fatigued.
Yeah. It's not. It's like
that's a whole nother podcast too. Ear fatigue and things.
That is. So all I'm saying is like when you're in riot mode, you might be pretty excited. So if you put some absorption around, that's going to deaden the sound. So that's just going to make you feel like you're into the music even more. So I think
crank it more.
I think anyone out there listening, if they really want to kind of get in touch with us, man, please do, because like
we actually do love this kind of shit.
I do.
Like,
I mean,
working
I kind
about
of,
it and like talking about it.
I really like it, and then we also have friends and contacts that do this professionally as well. Yeah. So they
if you need to be forwarded on to someone to do it properly,
so if you're like,
actually, we're going to be looking at, and because we're moving into this big room that's a weird shape and size, we're actually going to be talking with some some audio engineers who specifically work
acoustic engineers
that do this and work in these spaces,
especially if we're going for a big room, because I've tackled small rooms, so I kind of feel like if and when we do this, if it's a big room, then that will be my learning curve and challenge. And I think that's like kind of maybe getting into wrap up world here, that maybe that's what we do. You do music for, like, it's hard, it's learning. It's like you make 5 mistakes.
It's not easy to write a number one hit.
But when you got the right amount of people around you, it's definitely easier. So if you're just sitting in the room doing it by yourself and you're struggling, man, you reach out. You'll find your little tribe. You'll find the right people. You'll start working with maybe some mix engineers and mastering engineers.
Yeah.
Everyone has the same vehicle, right? We just have different vehicles to get there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're looking at a studio and it's like, oh man, that looks like a Maserati. I need that. It's like, no, you don't. No. Whatever's in front of you right now is exactly what you need. If you feel like you need to work to that, then that's something you'll work towards. And if you do get that chance to sit in that 200, 300, whatever plus studio, just be humble and just be like, great,
this is awesome,
But
enjoy it.
If you were to throw a kid straight into it, I wouldn't know what it's like, it's the gradual step of things. So those massive studios, like I've always heard stories about, they've thrown money at an acoustic problem and they've not even fixed it. So it's relative. Remember that these are like your secret weapon, because nobody has these. These are the most expensive part of your studio, which are your ears.
And look after them.
But
I think it's a good time to say, like, we're moving our studio to a new space. We're going to be going through this process again, whether it's a big room or a small room. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we find out soon. But
I think it'd be good to document maybe a little bit more, because when we kind of
we wanted to document when we moved in here, but we didn't document it. So I think we'll definitely do that. We'll set up some cameras and do some things. But if anyone wants to come and check out the new space once it's there, or even if you want to come in and utilize this space before we leave
in the end of
at the end of November, or maybe mid. We're not too far off now. It's like a month, I reckon. But come in,
because
this is the space, and when we go to the new space, like, it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait till we do our opening party wherever our new space is.
Can we just segue straight to that right now?
Yeah, if you want to come to our opening party, anyone who's been on the podcast will get an invite, plus other industry friends and people. But if you really want to come, send us a message and we'll see if we can hook you up.
It's gonna be.
But yeah,
okay.
anything else you want to mention or talk about, Johnny, before we finish?
No, man, bring live music back, please.
Yeah, bring music back. We'll have it back. We're ready.
I feel like we're on the cusp of it getting back. So let's please everyone just do the right thing.
We ready. We out here.
Alright.
We ready.
All right, don't be out there doing stupid shit and ruining it, because a lot of my friends in the live music industry are not working, man. They
Yeah,
haven't
they're
worked
fucked.
this year.
Yeah.
I'm really blessed. I got to work with kids this year, and got really blessed at the end when we're coming out of the lockdown to continue to work here. And I feel like we're in a little bit of a bubble. So I would just really like to see, I would really like to see the bigger venues to happen.
To keep progressing the way it's going, because things are slowly coming
Yeah.
back. I think we need
and,
to just keep
you know,
on
just
that train.
just to say things that I've heard on the kind of like, on the back burner and stuff, that the AFL Grand Final is this weekend.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in events that are coming up to check it out.
See what they're
just
playing, how they do it.
See how you guys are doing it, how you guys can handle this amount of people, and how we can
how can we
translate
do
that
into
into,
events?
Elton John 5 nights in a row or whatever it is. But
John,
he never left.
is that the one thing that you're waiting to come back? You just want to wait. You just want to have Elton John so you can see him
One more time. I've seen him so many times.
like a candle in the wind. Well,
I love that guy. But I think that's the biggest thing I can say is, like, if you're going events, just really work with those people that are working in those events, because we're really trying to get that industry back. I mean, it was the first one to shut down. It's going to be the last one to come back.
Yeah.
It is a huge part of our industry. It's a huge part of our economy, I should say. And without that, I mean, where else are we going to go and hang out, get experiences?
I don't know. I'll just go to the studio. Studio. If you haven't watched People Just Do Nothing, go watch that show because it's hilarious on Netflix. All right, let's wrap it up, Johnny. Let's go do some other shit. If you guys want to check out Diffuszed Studios, I usually plug it at the start of every audio episode. It's DIFFUSZED studios.com. Go to the contact form, get in touch. But what else have we got? Have you got any music coming out or anything? I know you're always working.
We
on
have.
shit as well, we work on the producer night.
We have a producer thing that's happening. That's
What
actually.
date is it?
That's it'll
What's
be.
the date? Do you know the date?
Wait.
We're doing it because we do a producer meetup here, and then
You're not going to be here. You're going to be at Stockies. So this.
No, that's the meetup. I'm talking about the actual night. This will be out after
this
Sunday.
thing anyway.
So we're doing a producer night where we play all original music.
Where just a bunch of us.
In November sometime.
Yeah, a bunch of us have come in, and we're doing it. I think it was the 14th. Mid-November. It's the 14th. So it's about.
And it's going to be all producers who come here into our producer meetup. Everyone's going to be playing all original music. Live stream in frequencies.
Out in frequencies.
Make sure you get around that and check it out.
Yeah. That's been the beautiful thing about this. Like, it's been a sort of like collaborative, sort of like
community.
Osmos kind of. Little
Paul's been really great for us. It gave us the opportunity to
cool.
come into a space and try it out to see if we could make it work. We figured out we can make it work, and now we're going to move off to bigger and better pastures in our own space.
In the weirdest fucking year that could have happened.
COVID.
I remember one of my last.
What did you do in COVID? We moved into our own studio and our own place.
I remember one of my last. It was like late Feb, early March, and we're doing some vocal stuff and coming in and mixing, and it was like, man, I might see you next session. It was like, if there's a goddamn world still out there. Like, it was a really bizarre time.
I remember there was a point where I came in and I was like, "Oi, Johnny, I'm going to take a heap of shit home." I'm like, I'm taking a stand. I'm taking all this stuff, like literally so I could write music, record podcasts and do all this shit at home. I took so much gear home with me, and I was just like, I even took the whiteboard home. I was like, I want the whiteboard so I can write shit down. Like,
I used to, I think in that lockdown part, I didn't have any clients, so I just was messing around with stuff, man, and it kind of turned into a little bit of a studio away from home in a sort of sense. So
It was cool. It gave us a place to go and do. It felt like we're still doing things, right?
So the cool thing is, we're doing a producer meetup here every month.
Yeah.
Kind of hosted by us.
On a Sunday.
And it's driven with Blair.
Festival Collective. Blair Festival Collective.
Runs Festival B-side. So he's been the really cool.
Master Right, B-side.
He's got a few aliases.
Shout out.
So he's been doing really great to pushing that. And we're trying to make it not so much a click, but more of a like, hey, anyone's here. And to tell you the truth, we've had people come from all kind of music
all kinds
things.
Of music. Some people come in doing medicine, like healing music. And then mate, I'm just banging out tech house bangers. And then someone else is doing ghetto funk. And then someone's got trance tune, a breakbeat tune, and a drum bass tune.
So it's very cool.
diverse.
It's really cool because we're also then have tried to incorporate a little bit of a live session. So basically all the tracks that we're making, we want to do a little live performance, and Paul already had the studio set up, and we had this kind of set up for a little bit, but Jimmy, who's Flourish, has he's pushed it, So that's the good thing about the group is like one person will be like,
let's do this, and everyone's like, yeah,
okay, and then that person pushes everyone else, so you kind of bounce off all each
Blair's
other.
Blair's talking about having a compilation release next year.
And Blair wants us to all put together one song after from the stuff that we've done. So it's a really good way to catch up with fellow music writers and producers.
So good to geek out too. Like if you because you sit at the back and oh man, how did you do that bass line? I use this, then I do this, and then I add this saturation, and I put the
we're a bunch. It's almost like we're a bunch of grease monkeys, like going, oh yeah, but what do I do to that?
Dude, it's just like Nerd City. It's like music Nerd City, and if that's what you're into, you should definitely come and check.
Last session, I plugged it. I was running everyone through Pro Tools and just doing a little semi 2-bus where I run
the SSL.
I was running people through the Better Maker, the SSL.
You love that Better Maker.
Yeah, it's a fucking fantastic EQ. Now I've got a VCA 2-bus from Voltage Audio as well. So there's lots of stuff. So the last one will be this. Maybe the last one here might be this Sunday. We might do one more before
we've got to do one more because I won't be here. So we've got to do one more.
We will do one more.
But it won't be the last Sunday. It'll be like something before we get too packed up. So
and
then the first one in the new space will be amazing. Because wherever we move to will be amazing. So make sure you guys look out for that. If you want to sign up, send either one of us a message, Diffuszed Studios, a beer with, whatever. We can add you to the group and get you guys in. So anything else acoustic wise, sound treatment wise. If anyone has any questions, hit us up. We actually do enjoy talking about this stuff and helping other people figure it out.
Man, I'll drive to your house to have a look at it if I have to. I don't care. Just as long
Depends where you live.
Well, if you're in the Brisbane region, then it's cool.
If you're near us.
If
we can get to you within an hour.
I can. I like to help people with music. That's the only reason I'm in.
I mean, that's why we've got a recording studio and we get artists in and help them.
You help people, man. And that's really, what it comes to. And if I can help you to get a better sound before then you come to me, then we're like
winning.
We're winning from the start, so
all right, man. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
We're actually.
I think I'm out of a drink, but
we are actually waiting on to see if our offer is accepted for our new space. So the phone is actually on airplane mode when I record. So we might have a message when we finish. So we're signing off now, I guess. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any more questions about anything to do with acoustic treatment in your room and stuff, make sure you reach out and hit us up. We're both more than happy to have a discussion with you and help you out. Hopefully, when the new studio's all up and running and sorted, we'll sort out a party and we'll see a lot of you guys there, I'd say, or at the producer meetup because we'll start doing them again when we move. So
they're so good. They're so good. All right,
that's it. We're out, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.